everyone. Our next speaker is Mr. Rob Riggs. He's a MarTech expert, and he believes technology impacts every business aspect, and when used strategically can bring dramatic improvement to an organization's challenges. So Rob studies, leads, and speaks, getting the best ROI from marketing technology. Helps cut through the clutter in a world with more than 7,000 marketing platforms and helps companies and organizations to get to what truly works. So hi Rob, that's an impressive profile because I think with the kind of marketing technologies out there, by the time a company chooses the right tech that suits for them, it's like that itself takes a lot of research and time. So
yeah, absolutely. There are a ton of options out there, but there's a good way to make it happen, and there's not so good ways to make it happen. But hopefully, through today's conversation and some of the other speakers you have, hopefully it's a big help to some of your audience and getting things moving technically.
Sure, Rob. So you want to go ahead with your presentation? So you can just share the screen.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Will do. And all right, do you see, what screen do you see? Okay, so you see a presentation, right? It says solved. Okay, and I was actually looking back through this. How's that? Okay, so we can start now. Okay, good. So yeah, thanks so much, Vinodh and the Spinta team for having me on. I love talking about this stuff. And just a quick intro to me, so you know kind of who you're talking with. So I'm Rob Riggs. I lead a team called Code Conspirators. And I, just a little bit of background, I grew up the oldest of 8 kids, 4 wholes, 2 halves, and 2 steps. I lived with my mom. And as I grew up, I guess, I learned valuable lessons as a part of being a part of a larger family and being dirt poor, right? So single mom, raising a bunch of kids, and I learned how to eat fast, or the food was going to get eaten by somebody else. I learned how to shower quick, or we were going to run out of hot water. But the biggest thing I think I take away from that experience growing up is value. We were poor, and I was wearing hand-me-downs from neighbor kids and kids from school and that sort of thing. Maybe you're in the same boat. But the things that I thought were so important at the time have little value today as I look back. And it didn't matter if I was wearing run fast sneakers that were borrowed from somebody, down the street, rather than paying $115 for a pair of Nikes. The value is getting me, getting me clothed, putting shoes on my feet, and the value of some of the more important things in life, I guess. So as I grew up, I founded a digital marketing company in 2004. And that we've totally grown and changed directions as technology drives. But the topic today is conversion from conversation. And I'm really passionate about this. It's changing monologue into dialogue to improve marketing and sales, ROI. So nothing we do is for the sake of having a tool or a system. Everything is for the purpose of improving our clients' marketing and sales. And so I started pursuing this topic not too long in the past. We set up a profile on Yelp, oddly enough, and no discredit to Yelp. I always thought they were a platform for restaurants and home services. If somebody needed a plumber or a roofer, that sort of thing, and they wanted a crowdsourced review system to vet somebody and make a decision about how they would choose who they wanted to work with. On a whim, we added ourselves to Yelp to see if we could get some local traffic there. And within 2 weeks of setting up a profile, we had somebody find us on Yelp and go to our site, initiate a chat via a chat bot, and that was passed to somebody for a live conversation. And within 2 weeks from that point, that live conversation, we landed a $40,000 project. And I was like, my first impression was like, that's nice. And it occurred to me that this was totally new. I mean, this could not have happened 50 years ago, even 20 years ago. We are coming from a place where we were advertised to, and so TV, radio, billboard, newspapers, etc. And you can think of Coke and McDonald's and Ford back in the golden days, advertising to us, telling us what we wanted because we didn't have any other way of knowing what we wanted, right? Or we had a need, such as a roofer or plumber, and we searched the Yellow Pages, which is basically an alphabetized list by category. And so if you need a plumber, for example, you'd jump into the Yellow Pages and find the plumbing category, make sure you're in plumbing service, not plumbing supplies. And you just start at the top of the list and start calling. And the weaknesses of these systems, when you compare, again, kind of looking back from today, weaknesses of these systems were you had to have incredible timing. If you were advertising on television or a billboard, you had to hit somebody right when they had a need, or your advertising had to be extremely memorable. You can think of big campaigns, where's the beef, or once you pop, you can't stop for Pringles, or you just blanket visibility. So some of the brands I mentioned earlier, Coke and McDonald's, they were advertising all the time. I think every third commercial was for a fast food place. And America loves to eat. But so brands were just blanketing us for visibility, brand recognition. Oh, and the weaknesses of Yellow Pages, there's no accounting for quality, right? If you're just starting at the top of the list, you never know who's going to answer the phone, or you're going to get the first one. It's funny when you have a plumbing need. It's not like you're planning far into the future. In the next spring, we'd like to do some plumbing work. When you have a plumbing issue, you need it fixed right now. So you're going to take the first guy that picks up the phone or the first guy that calls you back. And so who's to say that's the best guy? In fact, if they're answering the phone, maybe they're not the best guy because they're not very busy. But the only determining factor there, who you're working with, is who's responsive. They may be no good. But the internet really changed all that. And we see now, again, looking back over the past 20 years, 50 years, everything has changed. And yet, everything has stayed the same. So everything has changed in the way that we're engaging with the people that we're buying from, or us as marketers or technology people, the way we're engaging our audience. But when we look at the consumer, we have the same needs. We are still interested in where we're going to eat. We still are interested in good plumbing or whatever. We still have the same needs. We're just engaging in different ways. And so the way we do this today is, if we're a consumer looking from the consumer's perspective at, I have a need, how do I make a decision about who I'm going to work with? We first look at visibility, and this is the lowest bar. Does my audience know I exist? So if I'm a consumer, who sells this thing that meets my need? And number two, availability. Are the products in stock? Can I schedule an appointment? When can you come out and fix this plumbing? Or credibility. And that's kind of the first impression when somebody goes to a website, or their first interaction with us, that user experience. Or Anymore, you can find out our reputation before you even hit our website. Look on Yelp, for example, as I mentioned earlier, Facebook and Google reviews and all of that. We can see reviews and testimonials so that we know, do we want to work with this brand or not? And so it's really important. These are the standards, not that we're setting for ourselves, but consumers are setting these standards for us. And we as consumers have the tools at our fingertips to make these decisions instantly. And the scary thing is, if somebody doesn't work with us, we don't know about it, right? We know about it if they call and they're wanting to do business with us, we lose an opportunity. But if they just don't even call because of something they see out there, where do we, it's a lost opportunity. And even bigger than that, how many lost opportunities are there out there? So as we're kind of having this conversation about conversion, from conversation, we're not actually talking about a one-to-one voice convo over the phone or in person. And actually, I'm glad it's not over the phone. I can't stand the phone. Talking to tech support or something, if I have an issue, I would rather die than pick up the phone, 40, 50, 60, maybe 50 years from now, when I would die with the problem that I have today still, because I'm not going to pick up the phone and talk to somebody. But if you give me an alternative, a chat, Twitter feed or Facebook group, something like that, I'll jump on that all day long, because I can still be productive doing other things while I've got that chat window I need help with, whatever that thing is. So we, as a brand, as marketers, we don't get to decide what platforms we're going to engage our audience. And because the consumer decides that, we have to be available whenever 24/7 and wherever, whatever platform our audience is going to engage with us. And that, we saw the prevalence of some of the social channels coming out here, social media, and everybody hopped on board with this. And probably if you're on social, you're on most of these things. Snapchat is a little bit newer, but the struggle here is that there are new platforms coming up into existence and being the new thing, the new platform. It seems like every week. How do we decide where to invest our time and our effort, our money? And it's interesting, the people who, like, if you're dealing with B2B, if you're selling to businesses, you might say, well, I'm staying away from Snapchat because my business market is on LinkedIn, let's say, but you're selling to, not to businesses. Who's making the buy decision? It's an actual person, right? And so the people are the ones using these platforms that are not just LinkedIn, it's Facebook, and it's surprising even. So I was under the impression that Facebook was used by people kind of 40 and up, but it's surprising how many people even 18 and up are still on Facebook to some degree. I saw stats the other week, 80% of people from the ages of 20 and 40 are at some point engaged in Facebook. MySpace, when's the last time you heard of that branch? There are 51 million people a month logging into MySpace. I don't know who those people are, but it's not me, but there's a market out there for everybody. It's important to be available where your market is. And so if you're looking at this screen, all of these different platforms, how do you scale this? And this is the scary part. We look at this as step number one, kind of integration. If you look at some of the big brands out there, the way they engage via social media with their audience, they're not having people in a big room with 1,700 browser windows open, looking at all the different feeds. They've integrated those feeds into one platform that they can pull up and look for mentions of their brand or mentions of certain keywords that they want to target and kind of pay attention to. So that integration here is a way to that big brands, even smaller brands, use to leverage technology to better serve their market, listen on what's going on. that sort of thing. Next, automation is the ability to automate the things that are easy. So if somebody has a question that you get frequently, you can automate based on keywords, and here's your response, and then follow up. Does that answer your need, or do you want to, do you have further questions? Do you want to get more detailed? Do you want to speak to a live customer service agent? That can all happen automatically and feed a live person if needed, but automating what's possible to handle in an automated fashion. And that does a couple things. It gives your customers better service, and it better sales, for your organization. Because if somebody is looking for, just like my Yelp story, if somebody's looking for a service and we're able to automatically figure out what are you looking for, and if they need to speak to somebody, forward them to somebody who's sitting there waiting to speak with them while they're doing other things. And then, so I guess a lot of brands may get nervous about automation. Well, what if something bad happens and we've got these messages scheduled to go out? It's the day at 9/11 in 2001 was a bad day. Obviously, if you had campaigns set to go out, or Hurricane Katrina, if you had campaigns set to go out that day, news breaks, you may want to pull that back. But automations are easy to turn off if something comes up. Automation in this sense is handling customer requests or prospect requests when they're on the path to purchase, when they're on that buyer journey. So automating what you can, and then only handling what you can't handle with automation. And next is hyper personalization. And this is kind of where the market is going now. This feeds your audience exactly what they want when they want it. And so as opposed to the mass media, the television from 30 years ago, we're now able to target, pinpoint what somebody's interested in based on their engagement with our content, and feed them exactly what they're looking for. It meets their need, and it helps them along the journey to a sale. And so here's an example. Traditional websites are feeding the same message to every visitor, no matter what their needs are, no matter what their interests are. We're giving them the same thing, right? There hasn't been a way. There is now, but when the internet first started, for the past until a few years ago, we would just have a static website. We as marketers, that would feed the same message to everybody, no matter where they are geographically, no matter where they are in the buying cycle, no matter what they're interested in. But if we were to convert that into emails that met the need that they're looking to solve. So are they feeding? So Steve here on the left is interested, let's say, in Alaska, and Mary on the right is interested in a trip to Egypt. This is coming from a travel agency, let's say. We can send the same email, but with dynamic content delivered to the person that they are looking or interested in learning about. If they click a link, obviously we know who they are. We've got link tracking code. So that we know, is Steve clicking a link in an email, then we're going to send them to this dynamic web page that has the same targeted traffic for Steve. But if Mary clicks a link in her email, she's going to go to the same page, but it has dynamic content for Mary. So here's an example of an email and web campaign where they integrate here and are serving content that is better serving this market. If we're serving Steve content that's very general, would you like a trip today? Would you like to go to Egypt? Steve's not necessarily interested. But if we serve content that is about Alaska, something that we know he's interested in, then he's much more likely to jump on that buyer path. So what we're able to do here, just where technology is dynamically deliver content that is driven by the consumer. It's no longer a one-way conversation from our website to our audience. Here's who we are, here's what we do. Now it's where are you? What are your needs? What are your interests? If you're early in the buy cycle, maybe it's a white paper or an ebook we give somebody when they fill out a form. If somebody in further down the buy cycle, maybe they're interested in comparing vendors, and so we want to give them a comparison guide. Here's us versus here are our competitors, honestly, and here's what we do better than our competitors. And number three, somebody's that's already gotten the ebook, they've already looked at the comparison guide. Now they're ready to schedule a demo, let's say, so we could prioritize that content. And when we're tracking that user behavior, we can pull that into our system, which feeds our sales and marketing team so they know how to follow up. And a lot of that can happen automatically. Some of it you may want to have a salesperson, hit them with a notification that Jan just hit our website 7 times within the past week. Maybe we want to follow up with a phone call or a specific email. Is there something we can help you with that you're coming back for? So what we see here, a different era requires a different approach. So back in the 50s and several decades ago, it was mass marketing. So the TVs, the newspapers, billboards, it's just getting a message out there, blanketing for visibility, brand recognition. That's what they're trying to do here, but there's no determination on who's looking at this ad and is this effective or not. The only way they know is what does our revenue numbers look like? So bring in segment marketing, and brands are starting to look at geographically, what if we do this ad over here and this other ad over here, and how does that compare? Or what do our women buyers want, or what do our Southern buyers want? On television, we can, they would start to serve advertising based on what shows people are interested in. And so if it's, or channel they're watching. So HGTV, you're going to see a lot more Lowe's and Home Depot ads. Whereas if somebody is watching the soaps, we may see other marketing. Relationship marketing came along next, and we start to see more targeting here. And then next, so where we are right now and have been for the past probably 10 or so years, it's hyper-personalized conversations. And this is kind of what we're talking about in terms of serving dynamic content based on whatever somebody's engagement level is with our content. So are they continually coming back to the same pages or the same types of pages, the same content, the same services? Let's feed them more information on that. Or maybe they're not getting what they need, so we can dive deeper. So they're coming back because they're either very interested or they're not getting what they need and they're digging for more information. What we see when we're serving hyper-personalized conversations, we see it's more meaningful and engaging to the buyer, the prospect, if you will. We see conversions over triple, and higher email opens, higher click rates, and the companies that implement these strategies exceed lead and revenue goals. 93% of these are seeing this. So it's a great way to kind of have that conversation one-to-one, but on a mass level. Really powerful stuff. And then what's coming next is AI and predictive marketing. I'm not even going to touch on that today, but that's super cool. But where we are right now, static website with low conversion, this is a way to solve this problem. So we're going to take a little bit of a switch here. So this problem solved is, so there's a lot more we could talk about here. But what I'd like to do, if you're interested in this topic, static website with no or low conversion, you can get this resource here we've made available on our website at codeconspirators.com/SAMP. That's sales and marketing problems. And you can get more information. And there are 3 other problems here that's also contained within that white paper that you could explore and dive into. And real quick, we're going to rush through this next one, but typical MarTech stack is unmanageable. And this is a piece of how we're solving for this, the automation, the integration. But so a lot of and MarTech is just marketing technology. How do you integrate? How do you automate that sort of thing? And typically it's a platform or a group of platforms that you have together that serve a particular function. And you can see here we've got different vendors that you could choose for landing pages and forms and CRM and analytics and blogs, email marketing, etc. The struggle here you're going to have is integrating these platforms so that you can make sense of the data. A lot of the issues with having so many different platforms is that these have individual contracts, individual fees, and they all price differently. Your team has to learn all of the different apps. It may be difficult to synchronize the data because all the databases are kind of siloed. You have to connect and build API connections to have the different applications talk to each other. Trying to make sense of data from so many different platforms is a challenge. And then don't even get me started on compliance. Because there's so many factors now, and then you've got to have each platform that you're using. For some industries, they've got to have each platform compliant. And then who do you call when things break? That's the challenge. So it's so difficult to manage. And then this is fun. So this was released in April of this year. There are more than 8,000 marketing technology platforms on the market today. And let's just zoom in because those logos are tiny. And still, like even within one section, there's a ton of options. How do you decide which platforms to use? Because you're not going to be able to vet 8,000 software vendors. Scheduling a vetting session 1 hour a day, that'll take you 4 years. And by the time 4 years are up, the complete landscape has changed, right? So that is a challenge. What we've done, and would like to make this available to you as well. I love spreadsheets. Not everybody does, but I took the top 30 platforms, just who was available on Google, who has the best crowdsource reviews. And what are these, number one, how do these bill? How do they invoice you? Is it by the user? Is it by the number of contacts you have? Is it a license fee? And then you can load everybody in that you want. All of it's varied pricing. Is there a setup fee? What is the overall cost of usage and ownership? So we ran this assessment across the top 30 tools, and there's not one platform out there that's best for every company. So a lot of clients come to us and say, I'm looking at marketing, platforms, solutions. How do you recommend we move? And based on some of the information, it's a conversation. We learn about their team size, how they use the platform, what their size of their database is, and what their objectives are. And we can make some recommendations based on that gives them the best value for their technology efforts, their technology spend. And this is available to you, no cost, but it helps you see cost per feature, what gives you the best value for what you're looking for. And this is available at codeconspirators.com/MATA. That's Marketing Automation Tool Analysis. And then one more I've got for you here. This is the top 6 CRM and marketing automation tools. If your spreadsheets are not for you, I totally get it. I'm a geek at heart, but this resource is available to you as well. And it has crowdsourced reviews from G2 and other services similarly, and talk about kind of pricing and what you get for which package. And then this is available to you at codeconspirators.com/MACT. So this is the unmanageable MarTech stack solved. So we've solved kind of 2 problems here in this, and I'm sure, you would love to hear more information, but we're going to be tight on time if we dig in deeper. But this is the same resource I showed you a little bit earlier, codeconspirators.com/SAMP for sales and marketing problems. And what we see here is that day in and day out, using conversations one-to-one, but automated and integrated, using conversation for conversion is better for you. Certainly, it helps you streamline, it helps you be more efficient at scale. And then it's also better for your customer. They get immediate access to the solutions that they are looking for. So it's a better experience in from their perspective as well. So it's that which is also better for you, making your customers happy, right? So thanks so much for your time today and listening to this. I'd love to continue the conversation. If you can download this presentation as well at codeconspirators.com/CFC. And if we can help you in any way, go to codeconspirators.com. There's a link right up top to get a free strategy session, or you can go to the contact page to schedule a specific conversation. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Rob. I just wanted to add a couple of points here. So I really like the point you told about making sense of the data, because I've seen most of our clients as well using a number of tools, but they don't really make sense of how they collect data from each of these tools to kind of make sense together. Say, for example, I saw that you mentioned Lead Feeder. So they're also one of the speakers. So, and
right.
You mentioned about Active Campaign. So they take the data from Lead Feeder, then manually feed it into Active Campaign and then try to reach it out. So they don't really integrate data that they collect from one particular source, and how do you start nurturing them using an email campaign. And so that way the conversions, actually we've tried a bit, not to the extent that you're talking about, but a bit, and the conversions have been like increasing a lot, like once you start making sense of the data, it gives you way more scope of understanding your customer's journey. So
absolutely. The more information we have, the better we can act on it, right? Yeah. If you're not measuring, if you're not tracking what people are doing, then it's hard to make wise decisions.
Sure. So how do people get in touch with you? I understand that you've given them some really good resources. I mean, I'm excited to see some of those resources as well. So what would be the best way for people to reach out to you? Do they?
Yeah, the website is the perfect kind of front door, I guess. Codeconspirators.com, and people can engage with us there. We've got the chatbot or the team ready to assist in any way that we can. We've got a ton of resources available at no cost if somebody's just interested in learning more. And but obviously there are there are ways that we can help if they have struggles kind of learning what direction to go, or implementing, or like strategically moving forward in a way that's ultimately going to move their business forward.
That's perfect. Yeah. So what I'll be doing is, once our session is over, I'm going to be mailing your presentation to all the audiences. So I'll also share them a mail with the links that you've already mentioned, just in case they did not take note of it. I'll be mailing all of them the links to the thing as well. So
excellent.
Yep. So thank you so much for your time, Rob. So
excellent. Thank you so much.
Really insightful, and I think it makes a lot of sense to a lot of people in terms of how to integrate technology and make that work for to increase your marketing conversions, right?
Absolutely. Good. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. This has been fun.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thanks.
Okay. Best of luck with your conference.
Thank you so much.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.